Started? It's on? Okay. So this is called splitting the night. We're almost at the end of the first halakha, and we're keeping with the same theme about finding the good points. This is the key to exile. So now it's very interesting. I was Benny knows because I do it with him a lot of times. I followed the Vilna Gaon's schedule for learning Chumash. It's supposed to be the Rizal that he does like a few pasukim a day, and then on the sixth day he reads like almost the whole thing. And then whatever, he does the whole thing over on Shabbat. So it's hard to do. You have to be like very committed to that. And then it's like yeah, but he does it in a specific way that there's like a lot on one day. Like too much. I think it's too much for me. So the Vilna Gaon, he does an aliyah a day. For me, it's like reasonable. I'm able to do that and still learn whatever else I need to learn. So that's what I've been doing now for like a year and a little bit, and it's been successful. So today's aliyah was speaking about that Moshe was going to go out at midnight, right? He was going to leave Par and go out at midnight, and that was going to be the beginning of the killing of the firstborn. So it's very interesting because that's exactly what he speaks about right here. And he says like this: around midnight, he says, Moshe, ani yotze betoch Mitzrayim. I'm going to go out into the middle of Mitzrayim. Kechatzot daika. So if Natan says, chatzot exactly. He was being exact. He wasn't just saying, I'm going to go out at some point in the night. I'm going to go out at midnight. Why? Ki bechatzot alayla az mitorer nekuda tova. Because chatzot of the night is the darkest part of the night. So Moshe was saying, I'm going to go out in the darkest part of the night and bring the redemption for the Jewish people. Why? Because it's in that darkest part of the night that you find hidden good. Bivchinat ruach safon, the northern wind, hamnasher bekino shel David. We learned in earlier Likutei halachot that this northern wind that came and blew on David's harp every night at midnight, right, was really because of his difficulties. There was a hidden good that he got from it. And that was what allowed him to play music on his harp. And that's what woke him up in the middle of the night. Okay? And we know that the word tzafon is connected to the word tzafun. Tzafon means north, but tzafun means hidden. So meaning it wasn't just a northern wind, it was a hidden ruach. What was the hidden ruach? It was the ruach of Elohim that's hovering over the waters. Meaning it's the nekuda tova. It's the piece of good that's specifically you find only in the dark. So he's saying that's why Moshe said, I'm going to go out at midnight, because that's when I can find the deepest nekuda tova. Ba'alken, and therefore, nimshach ruach hatova. It's drawn this good energy, and nekuda tova, this good point. Mitzafon daika. It comes from the north specifically. Why? Like I told you yesterday, mitzafon titpatach hara'ah. It's a pasuk in Yirmiyah where it says, from the north evil comes. So he meant literally that there were evil people who were coming to attack the Jewish people. They were coming from the north. But Kabbalistically, we learn from this pasuk that all evil comes from the north. Right? We know that on when a Torah there's a pasuk, it's always true on many levels. So yes, it was true they were coming from the north, but we learn Kabbalistically negativity or concealment of Hashem in our life always comes from the north, which Kabbalistically is the left side. Right? We learn that there's a right and a left side and a middle. The right side represents pure spirituality. The left side represents pure physicality. So we know that physicality conceals Hashem from our life. But we're learning that the hidden good is in the north. It's in the physicality. Like we're learning that in order to get the deepest Torah, the greatest Nekuda Tova, you need tremendous wealth. And we know wealth is connected to the left side. Like it says, where does your wealth come from? Your wife. So we think that means literally it comes from the wife. It does, but it means it comes from the female side of spirituality, which is physical. Physical. Meaning you also in your soul, you have a left side. Some people's left side are more dominant. Those people are usually more connected materially. They're also usually more prone to anger and lack of patience. Things that maybe you see more commonly with women, right? That you might have more of that because the left side of your soul is stronger. But we're learning that in reality, that there's a good that's hidden in that place that we don't even have on the right side, which is supposedly the good, the spiritual. Ki the ikar malata tov hayotzi mitoch tokef hara. Why? Because the essence of the ascent of good, it has to come from bad. Meaning there is a good and there's something that's amazing for Hashem. Something that's good is the guy who learns and he prays and he grows up religious and he never sins. It's good. But you know what for Hashem is amazing? You have a guy, he's connected to materialism. He's obsessed with physicality. He has lusts and desires and he has taivas and he's confused by the power of his imagination and he has many, many, many negative influences in his life, whether it's his parents or his friends or his family, right? Bali tshuva. And Hashem says the good that's in them is even greater. It's even greater. And there's a proof for this. Why? Because Hashem would never put somebody through something that they can't get out of. So when you see a guy who mamash you think he's lost, there's no way he's ever, right? There's no way. Like Benny said once, I've seen guys who have a lot of money and they're not religious. Right? He's like, I don't even know if I blame them. If you have that much money, it's hard to connect. It's hard to connect to something more, right? But Rav Nachman's teaching, there's a hidden good in those people that's, you can't imagine it. You can get the good from them too. We're going to learn later in the Torah and Likutei Mohoran how you awaken those people. And it's a very specific method, okay? So he says like this. And through this daika nasi nigunim, through getting the good which is hidden in the darkness, that's how you make songs. Right? We said before that David HaMelech used to make songs for the Leviim. How do you make songs? So it's Tehillim. And what is Tehillim? Tehillim is he found the good points in his suffering. So specifically that he turned into songs. He wasn't taking the good points of his life and talking about it as much. He was speaking about him struggling with this, but I know you're with me, and I know you're not going to leave me, and I know, where are you, you know? So those are the good points that are in the darkness. Good. So he says, Shi'yitrona or mina hoshech. And when you get a little bit of good in the darkness, you're able to take away a lot of darkness with a little bit of light. Right? Like the sages say, there's an advantage to light over darkness. What's the advantage? That if you have a little bit of light and a lot of darkness, the light permeates the darkness. But if you have a little bit of darkness and a lot of light, darkness is gone anyway. So really, darkness only exists when there's no light. Yeah, when there's no light. It's a very deep thing I just told you. Darkness only exists when there's no light. Remember what we said before? That there's a concept of taking the left side and encompassing it in the right. Take the left hand and encompass it in the right. Take the difficulties in your life and find the good in it. Why is that so important? Because what happens for us is we look at the bad on its own. And then it is bad, right? The Holocaust was bad. People who go through depression, it's bad. People have alcoholism, it's bad. People who are in addiction clinics, it's bad. It's not good. However, if you take that moment and you now take it and you place it within the context of his whole life, so it could be that he has a greater good that comes from that than if he never went through it. But that's only when you take it and you include it in the whole picture. When you include it with good. But when you look at bad on its own, it's not good. This is why it's so important that you always find good points. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I tripped when I was picking up my daughter from Gan. And I usually just walk her down the stairs. She's 2 years old. She's very small. And I usually just walk with her down. But for some reason, I was excited to see her. I picked her up. And I started walking down the stairs. And I thought my foot was going on the next stair, and I missed the stair. So I fell off the stairs. And thank God I didn't go back right away. I fell on the foot, but the foot was twisted. So I really hurt it. It was intense pain immediately, a very sharp pain. And I wanted to let go, not on purpose. I just I guess that was a natural instinct. Yeah, impulse was just to let go of my daughter. And I just fought it with everything that I had not to let go. But then as I fell completely on my back after that. And towards the end, I had to let go. I couldn't hold on anymore. I don't know why. I just couldn't. So she fell a little bit at the end. And I was so scared that she got hurt. And I was like, are you okay? Okay. I was hugging her and I was in so much pain. Never been in so much pain. And trying to comfort somebody else before. Yeah. So thankfully someone was watching and they said, she's okay. It wasn't hard for her. Are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was comfortable, whatever, okay. So after, I thought I just twisted my leg. You know, when you play basketball, you twist it a little bit, it hurts for a little bit, it goes away. So I came home, I took a nap, and I got ready for the class. I came over, and I had a limp, but I thought it was sore. I was going to go away the next day. When I was getting up from the class last night, it was extreme pain. It was like I sprained my ankle, or I broke something. It was like I couldn't walk on it. They had to carry me out of here, the students, and take me in the car, and it took me like a half an hour to get home because I couldn't move on it. I walk in, and the doorman's like, what happened to you? And I was like, whatever. I was trying to explain. They had me on both arms. They carried me up. I couldn't put any pressure on it. I came home. My wife like helped me take my pants off and change them, and then put ice on my leg. I lay down, and I slept with the ice on my leg. And right before I went to sleep, I said, Hashem, thank you so much that nothing happened to my daughter. Thank you so much, Hashem, that you thought that this was good for me. You know, and I just went on a whole list of thank you before I went to sleep. And even though I didn't want at all to say the Shema on my bed and to do the whole Kriya right on my bed, I did it anyway. And I said, Hashem, thank you for this. I know at this point in my life, really everything is for the best, whether this was to help me or somebody else, or whatever it was. And I ask you, Hashem, tomorrow, I really want to learn, and I want to pray, and I want to help people, and I want to help connect people back to you. Please help me to be fully healed tomorrow. And I have no pain whatsoever. And I went to sleep. And I woke up the next day and I felt fine. I felt fine. Almost 100%. My wife's like, what happened? I said, I don't know. It's like a miracle. She thought I was going to stay home the whole day. She was like preparing the whole day as if I was going to be there. I was like, I'm going to go pray and I'll see if I feel okay. I'm going to go. And the doorman saw me and he's like looking at me like, what happened? I said, I don't know. I just feel a lot better. So he's like, yeah, but I saw you yesterday. Like, Abraham was with me. And he's like, dude, you need to go to the hospital. you broke or you sprained your ankle or something. I told the doorman, I said it was a miracle. So he looked at me. Moshe Rabbeinu with one glove. Do I have to be scared? The only time I ever saw one glove before, it was somebody on a fast chase away from Animal Land or whatever Michael Jackson called that place. Oh, that wasn't Michael Jackson. That was somebody else. MJ had the glove, but who else had the glove? OJ.
You're a bug. That's a completely different letter. You got married recently, right?
Yeah. It's also so nice to have you. Wow, you came for a goodie. Yeah. Okay, so the doorman said to me, after I told him it was a miracle, he goes like this.
All right.
Thank God. And he never said anything like that to me. I've known him now for like 2 years. I've been there. He's never once, he knows I'm religious. He never said anything, nothing. And I said, you know what? It was worth it just so the doorman could like have like a moment of yira.
You want to have more music? Go to the Mohoran. See this guy named David. He's a black guy. You ask him, how are you? How's your day? That's amazing.
Okay, good. So anyway, that on its own, right? You would say it's not good to hurt yourself. It's not good. On its own, it's not good. But if you realize that everything Hashem does is good, and even though it doesn't seem like it's good, it must, in the context, bring good. So therefore, by thanking Hashem for the problem, you're finding good in the difficulty, and you're taking a little bit of light. And that little bit of light extinguishes the darkness. But if you don't find any light in your problem, it's just dark for you.
So basically what you're saying really is you need Da'at in the situation.
Yes.
Da'at is what takes you out.
Yes, Da'at is the light.
It's the good.
Is the good. Da'at is the good. Just like Moshe is Da'at, and it said when he was born, Ki Tov, he's good.
It's like a recognition.
Yes.
You're realizing something.
Right. Sometimes you actually feel it, sometimes you actually experience it, but when you don't, you can thank for it as if you feel it. Right? I don't feel that this is good, but I know it's good. That's called Da'at. And therefore, I'm thanking Hashem for knowing that it's good even though it didn't feel good. And through that, you're actually bringing light into the situation, and you're finding the hidden good, which actually can only be found in a difficulty. Okay. So now he says like this. Because at Chatzot, az Shechina. Okay? There is something called Tikkun Chatzot. We're going to deal with this whole halacha. There is a lot of Likutei halachot on Tikkun Chatzot because Rav Nachman speaks a lot about it. But we're going to learn why now in a little bit. What is the essence of Tikkun Chatzot? That you should get up in the middle of the night and pray for the Jewish people, pray and cry over the Beit HaMikdash, X, Y, and Z. So it says like this. At night, the Shekhinah, at midnight specifically, the Shekhinah kibechol, so to speak, b'tachlit hami'ut. It's at its smallest point. Meaning it's its most concealed. Throughout the whole day, there's revelations of God in the world and there's concealments of God. And Tikkun Chatzot, literally at Halachic Chatzot, that is the greatest constriction of Hashem's revelation in this world. Ki Yedua, like it's known, according to the Mekubalim. As hi bechinat nekuda. Mamish, it's a nekuda. You only have a little bit of good at that point. Va'az hu itkabrut hashena. And that's why you're so tired at 12 at night.
Really? I don't know. It's a little different nowadays.
Okay. But it's just saying in general, why is it that in the middle of your sleep, you go into such a deep sleep? So he seems to be saying it's actually because that's when the Shekhinah is hidden. That's really why it gets dark at night. It's not because there's a sun and then the sun goes away. That's the physical representation or reflection. But the inner reason is the sun represents the revelation of God in the world. The sun's going away, it's complete darkness. It means the Shekhinah is in exile. That's why the Sitra Achra has the ability to do things at night it doesn't have during the day. That's why people, usually in their taivas and in their lackings, it comes out strongest at night. A person might have an issue with eating and he's been good all day, and some reason right before he goes to sleep, I have to eat a whole Ben & Jerry's ice cream tub. Why is that? Because you have very, very deep klipot at night. Let's say during the day, right, you were very good at staying focused doing what you need to do, and all of a sudden at night someone calls you and it's like, hey, you want to blaze, and you were able to hold off all day, but now for some reason, you know what, it's nighttime, I'm whatever, and I can't. So there's deep spiritual reasons for this.
It's not because he has free time at night.
No, that's what it looks like.
Most of these things usually happen at night.
That's what that's what we're saying. ואז די קצרי כל אחד כי נוגע יראת השם בליבו יתגבר בהתגברות גדול מאוד. Therefore, anybody who has real yirat Hashem, which is what the Shulchan Aruch says any Jew who has real yira, he is going to get up in the middle of the night and do tikkun chatzot. Okay?
This is a halacha.
This is a halacha, yeah. So he says, so it's interesting. Rav Natan says, why does he need to have yira? Why can't he just do it like any other? You don't need yira to put on tefillin. You don't need yira for this. You don't need yira for that. And the answer is because the Shekhinah is completely hidden at that point. So you're in the deepest sleep. And the only way you're able to get up is if you find a little bit of good, and the only person who has yira is going to be able to find that good. Only a person with deep emunah is going to be able to awaken himself up in the deepest part of his sleep. This is analogous to rousing oneself from the grip of spiritual sleep, spiritual slumber. When the Sitra Achra are making you feel sad, or they're making you feel angry, or they're making you feel destitute, whatever it is, you're in despair. So how do you get out? It's the same thing. You have to find that one good point, that single good point. And that's like getting up in the middle of the night at Tikkun Chatzot to pray, okay? And he says that this is the whole getting out of Egypt. The whole exodus from Egypt came because Hashem found a few good points in the Jewish people. They didn't change their name.
Oh yeah, those. Wow.
They didn't change their name. They didn't serve idols. Whatever. There was a few reasons that they listed. So they kept those things, and as a result of that, those few good points, Hashem freed them from slavery early, and brought them the Torah, which is something, earlier, and he brought them the Torah, which is something even better than if they had never gone through it. So you see from here that in Mitzrayim there was a hidden good in that led to the Torah.
Without Mitzrayim, you wouldn't have revelation for the Torah.
Right. This also relates to the night of Pesach. Why? Because at midnight Hashem took pity and skipped over the homes of the Jewish people when he afflicted Egypt. This means that Hashem in his Rachamim, he gathered up and he rescued all the good points called the Jews. So in reality, this whole story of the Torah and the Jews in Egypt, it's really a mashal for good points which are, good points which are trapped in the Sitra Achra. So when we pray to Hashem that he should gather up all the exiles, it's the Jews. But what are the Jews? They're the good points which are in exile. So when we gather up all of the good points and we bring them to one place, then the revelation of God happens there in Israel. So that's really what we're praying for. That Hashem should find the good points all over the world and bring them back together. And this is the function of Mashiach, to do this. That's why it says, Israel, you're my firstborn, you're my Bechor. Why? Because Bechor is connected to Reshit. Why? Because there's only a few times in the Torah that the word Bechor is used. The word Reshit is used. One of them is with Chokhmah, which is wisdom. One of them is with Bikurim, the mitzvah of Bikurim, that you're going to use the Reshit. So we learn, the Midrash says, Hashem created the whole world just for the sake of the mitzvah of Bikurim, the first fruits. So this seems like an unworthy reason to create the whole entire universe and everything that happens just for firstborn fruit. And the answer is that Chokhmah and the good points and the firstborn fruit are all one concept. Meaning, he's saying that we are his firstborn. So we are the good that's hidden in the world. We are the Chokhmah that exists in the world. Like it says, Hashem recreates every day the world bechokhmah. Rashi says, what does that mean? For the sake of the Chokhmah. Not just with it, with wisdom. He's doing it for the sake of the Chokhmah. And what's the Chokhmah? It's the hidden good that's throughout the world. This is the Jewish people. And that, it says, this was the essence of the redemption from Egypt. Everybody, if you could just come off your phones for a little bit. You already came to the class. You might as well learn. Yeah, makes sense? Okay. This is the first to reveal, who was the first to reveal the mystery of midnight? So Rav Natan says it was Avraham Avinu. Why? Because when he fought the 4 kings and he rescued Lot from exile, the night, it says, was divided against them. Meaning simply what it meant is that Abraham divided into certain camps and then went to go attack. That was part of his strategy. But what we're learning is that it was midnight that he went out. Meaning what? He went into the deepest darkness and he took out Lot. He's the good point. Why was Lot the good point? Because within Lot was Ruth, and within Ruth was Mashiach. Meaning that Abraham went out at midnight and he rescued the Mashiach. So Abraham in this case is like the viceroy, and David is like the lost princess. Right? But he specifically went at midnight. Why? Because that's the darkest. And the greatest good is in the deepest darkness. Like Rav Nachman says that Mashiach's parents are going to be How does he know that? Because the greatest good has to come from darkness. Okay, we don't. I know you're joining Kolo. It's great, but we don't need a running commentary on the side after everything that's done. It's a good time to pray now for something. And violently. Okay. So therefore, metaphorically speaking, rising at midnight is like Avraham going and taking Lot out of exile. And we know, according to the Mekubalim, the mitzvah that is the greatest segula to bring Mashiach is Tikkun Chatzot, which is unbelievable, yeah. Tikkun Chatzot. Yes, that's right. And we also don't have Mashiach yet.
How many people do it?
Tikkun Chatzot is when you get up at halachic midnight and you say Tikkun Leah and Tikkun Rachel. It's Tehillim that David wrote, for the most part.
10 minutes if you're quick.
10, 15 minutes.
What if a person doesn't sleep, they can still just say it.
What's that?
Let's say a person's up every day regardless until that time. Can you just say
Yeah, you can just say it before you go to sleep. A lot of people do that. That's a good way to do it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes it's 11 o'clock and it's 1 o'clock. It depends.
Yeah, so then like if it's later, so maybe you want to wake up early and do it. And you can even go back to sleep right after, right? Whatever, so something like that, yeah. When we get to the actual halacha, we're going to do the halacha inside in the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll look exactly how to do it, okay? Right now we're just discussing the point, and it's being brought back up because it's connected to our concept of finding the good points, okay? This is the essence of finding the good point. And this comes about only through Avraham. Why? Because there's no reason to get up in the middle of the night unless you think it's good for you. And the king of finding the good is Avraham. And this is the whole reason he's the one who started Judaism, because that's the essence of Judaism, is to find the good. And therefore, who was the one who made many converts? It was Avraham. And Rav Natan said, how did Avraham do it? Because he found the good in every person. And by focusing on that good, which is really God, they connected to God. It wasn't that Avraham was giving them Divrei Torah. He said, come and eat. And they hung out, and all of a sudden they felt good about themselves. And he's like, wow, this feels good. What is this? And Abraham says, that's God. He's like, wow, I like God. Okay, make a bracha. What? And then, that's the whole story.
Make a pay.
That's it. Like, I'll give you a quick example. This it made me think of. By the way, the people who are able to bring people back the most are the ones who were in the greatest darkness. By the way, it was a very interesting thing. Onkelos, he was the one who wrote the first translation of the Torah, which is really in some ways is like a perush, a commentary. He translated it into Greek. Or Aramaic, I should say. Okay, but he was Greek. He was very wealthy, and he was a very big part of the Roman Empire. Okay, when he converted to Judaism, it was like a huge shock to the Roman Empire. Okay, it sent ripples through them, and he became very hated, and he was searched after, and it became an even bigger problem. Why? Because he was brilliant. And because there is a koach of people, there's a strength of people who are converts or Bali Tshuva to be able to bring back other converts or Bali Tshuva. So what happened was, whenever non-Jews came up to Onkelos, he would tell them, hey, I just heard this new Divrei Torah, I want to tell you real quick about it. And they tell him, and they want to convert to Judaism. And it happened to be that they kept sending people to get him, and he kept telling them new things. They're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And they would convert. So finally, the emperor says to him, listen to me. You're going down to Onkelos now. Don't speak to him. Not for 1 second. Take him, don't listen to him, and get out. Just rip him out in the middle of the night and leave, and that's it. So listen to the story. It's epic. Goes to Onkelos. In the middle of the night, they just like rip him out of bed. They start to drag him out of the house. And he says, no, wait. He goes, no, we're not listening. He goes, no, 1 second. He said, no. He said, I just want to do one thing. I don't want to tell you guys anything. Just let me do one thing. I have to do something before I leave. Go, okay, what do you have to do? So he gets up and he kisses the mezuzah. And he says, okay, you can take me. So he said, what did you just do? Good, he got him. And you all know what he said? It was epic. He had an epic response. He said, you guys work for the king, right? He said, you guys work for the king, right? They said, yeah. He said, wow, that's a big deal. You work for the king. He said, do you ever see the king? He goes, no. He said, why not? He said, yeah, whatever. So he said, you want to know something interesting? We both have kings. Your king is inside and you're outside. My king stays outside and he lets me stay inside. Meaning Hashem is like in the mezuzah, so to speak. He's protecting me and I'm inside. And as a result of that, they're like, wow, I want a king like that. That was it. They all converted. So he was a very great soul. Yeah? Onkelos. But why was he able to do this? Specifically because he was a convert. There's a koach to Bali Tshuva and converts, which is why David represents like the Bal Tshuva. He's able to bring up and collect all those sparks because he's in the darkness. He came from there. Okay? And also, just an interesting point on the side, the majority of rabbis who are very much impacting our generation today are Bali Tshuva. Many of them are Bali Tshuva, which you never saw in any prior generation. Just an interesting thing, okay? So this is Abraham. Abraham found the good point in Lot, which was that Ruth was in there and Mashiach was in there, and he went, and the kings went to kill Lot. Why? Because they saw the good that was in him, so they brought him into captivity. Since the entire aim of the Sitra Achra is to overpower that good point. What does the Sitra Achra do to bring a person down? He has him not focus on one good thing. Depression. That's what Rav Nachman says, that Esav, which is the essence of the Sitra Achra, is depression. His whole thing is to make you sad by not allowing you to think about at all good points in your life. Because if there's one good point you can think of, he starts to be conquered. So therefore, it's only through chesed, meaning judging favorably, not just yourself, but also Hashem. This must also be for good, even though I don't feel that it's good. And by judging him favorably, and the situation favorably, you find the good, the Sitra Achra is defeated, and you leave. Okay? So, we will continue this. On Monday, Bezat Hashem, what I want to do now is continue with Likutei Mohoran. So this is gonna get very, very interesting now. Okay, we finished it.
No more story?
Wow, you like the stories, huh? So maybe we'll incorporate it in the future. We'll see.
You say a miracle?
Yes, I told them. Yes. Okay, you're gonna have to wait now. I can't say the whole thing over again. Okay. So now like this. I'm gonna do a quick review. This is gonna sound very bizarre and confusing, and you're not gonna see how everything connects unless you've been to the classes. So just pretend or take everything that is true and then move on with the lesson. Okay? To achieve a level of deep contemplation of the Torah, Rav Nachman says you must possess great wealth. What is the way to attain this great wealth? He said it's by extending one's days. How does one extend one's days? By increasing the Kedusha in the day. Because Kedusha, or spirituality, is above time and space, so when you add Kedusha to your day, you extend the day, literally. There are times sometimes when I'm learning, like hardcore learning, and I'm like so into it, and I look up and a minute passed. Yeah. So what is that? It seems like, oh no, I just lost track of time. No, Hashem adds time in the day because it's above time. When you do Hiporudu, it's the same thing. So when you add Kedusha to your day, you literally make your day last longer. How do you think you see people like Rav Adi Yosef, how do you write that much? You see Tzaddikim, how do you do so much? The Rambam, he was a doctor. He was the greatest doctor in the world. He was also the greatest genius in the world in astrology and in math and in medicine and in Torah. Yeah, but
Gifted.
he's gifted. Yeah. That was it. That was
He
it.
wasn't your average person.
Okay, there's other people who are not your average person. They're not doing all of that.
That's true.
The whole reason we have the Shulchan Aruch is because of him. The whole reason that the Jewish people follow laws of the Torah is because of the Rambam. He saved the whole Jewish people. Not only that, while he was doing all of that, he was also like the Mashiach for the Yemenite Jews. They would send him letters saying we're being persecuted. They had tremendous persecution from the Muslims. Tremendous. It was like they'd rather die than live. And the Rambam kept sending them letters. Don't worry, I'm telling you that this is for the good. Just trust Hashem. And he wrote them the most empowering letters. And he was doing this while he was teaching his kids, and he was the doctor for the whatever, and he had to take his donkey, and he had to drive it, he had to ride it there and ride it back. And then when he came back home at night after his whole long day, he had tens or 50 or 100 Jews sitting in his house waiting for free treatment. Can you help me, Moshe? Please help me. They knew he was a great doctor. He did this every day. How do you do that? The answer is he added Kedusha to his days, and he extended his days. A deep concept, okay? So if you want more time in your day, stop wasting time.
What is it? What'd you say? What was it?
If you want more time in your days, stop wasting time. Doesn't mean just do something, do a lot of things, do a lot of Kodesh things.
It makes you more aware or influenced.
That's true also, but that's a psychological principle. We're saying even more than that you mamish add time to your day. You ever hear about tzaddikim that they're able to go from one place to another? Yeah? And do it in a very short amount of time? Kafitza Tederech?
Elisha.
Yeah? And also like the Baal Shem Tov. Everybody who knew the Baal Shem Tov knew that he would get from one place to another in 1/60th of the time it actually takes to get there. How do you do things like that? And the answer is, when there's so much Kedusha, you're not bound by time and space anymore. Because spirituality is not held by time and space. And you can do things like that. Okay. So now he says, how do you extend one's life? With long days. How do you make long days? Add Kedusha. Add Kedusha a little bit more every day. You learn an hour and a half the next day. You do it for 20 minutes, try doing 30 minutes tomorrow. Add every day, add a little bit more. And what's the key to doing this? How does a person feel the motivation to continue to add Kedusha to his day? Because that takes a lot, right? It takes a lot of mental stamina to continue to add spiritual things to your life. And the answer is Yira. Only through Yira, which is, I realize and I recognize deeply in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, that everything is Hashem. There's nothing besides Him. He's the one who does everything. He's the one who's orchestrating everything. He's the one who's creating everything. And when you realize that, What else do you want to do besides whatever he wants you to do? It doesn't make sense to do anything else. But that only comes from Yira. And Yira brings you wealth. What's the opposite? So we said, while Yira is real wealth, the opposite of real wealth, which is poverty, comes from physical beauty. What's the concept of spirituality? It's above physicality. It's not physical. The real beauty is in the spiritual. It's the inner, right? If you get married and you say, what do you love about me? So damn good looking. He's like, my wife never said that. Just kidding. Okay, what else? Great nose. Okay, and about me? Eyebrows perfectly separated. Okay, but me as a person, do you like anything about me? Yes, I do. Yes, great height. Yeah, great beard. Sweet stature, you know? Whatever it is. What about me? I'm not, that's not me. Just a quick side story about the Baal Tanya that just popped into my head, which is a very nice story. The Baal Tanya told you guys that his daughter saw that he was going to pass away because of all of the dinim that were on him, and she sacrificed her own life for him. We're not going to get into how that whole thing took place. Whatever, he ended up living longer as a result. What did he do in response? He raised her kid, which was very young when she passed away. He was like 2 or 3. And he, mamish, had him everywhere he went. That even when he was with the Baal Shem Tov and all the Gedolim and everybody was with him, he always had this little kid with him. And he would make a ruckus and they'd be like, what are you doing? You're the Baal Tanya, you're the Tzaddik Ador. Teach us Torah. This kid's bothering. Let some woman take care of him. He said, no, he's staying by me. His whole life he stayed by him as a kid, no matter what he was doing. Who did that kid turn into? The Tzemach Tzedek. He was the 3rd Lubavitcher Rebbe. He was a genius like no other genius. Even Rav Ovadia Yosef, he constantly quotes him in Yabia Omer and Yalkut Yosef. He's constantly quoting the Tzemach Tzedek because he was not just genius in the hidden Torah like many of the Hasidic Rebbes were. He was also a genius in halacha. He was just mamash a genius. So one day when the Tzemach Tzedek, he was 3, and he was sitting on the Baal Tanya's lap, and the Baal Tanya was deeply immersed in his Gemara, learning. And all of a sudden, the Tzemach Tzedek, the 3-year-old boy, he takes his grandpa's beard, and he says, Zaidi, Zaidi, and grandpa. So he said, that's not Zaidi. That's my beard. That's Zaidi's beard. And he goes back to learning. So the kid takes his ear, and he starts pulling on his ear. He goes, Zaidi, Zaidi. He goes, that's not Zaidi, that's Zaidi's ear. And he kept going on and on and on. And finally, he realized that this was his grandfather's response every time. He's a very smart 3-year-old. So he went to the door, and he pretended to close the door in his hand. And he started crying hysterically. And the Baal Tanya gets up quickly from his studying, and he says, Mendele, by the way, this is who Menachem Mendel is right, named after. He goes, Mendel, are you okay? Are you okay? What happened to you? Mendel. And he goes, that's Zaidi. That's Zaidi. He's not fit. 3. Okay? So we're saying like this. You are not your beard, you're not your ears, you're not your face, you're not your hair. You are something much deeper than that, okay? That part of you that's real, that's called beautiful according to the Torah. But the part of you that's beautiful, that's physical, that's going to change. And the Torah says anything that's real is always. Forever. So if a person looks beautiful, but eventually he's not gonna, then that's not real beauty. And the more you're invested in that type of beauty, whether it's in women or whether it's in the physical world or whatever it is, the less year you're going to have, and the more you're going to have trouble making money. This is what Rav Nachman says. Okay. Then obviously, what's the greatest expression of being attached to false beauty? Wasting seed. Right? You don't have more false beauty than that. So now listen to what he says. We're going to move forward. Very interesting. You guys had the question, well, how do I get fear like that? Right? Avram, you asked me, okay, that sounds great. You need Yira to add more Kedusha to your days. And you need more Kedusha in your days so that you can make more money. So how do I get more Yira? So let's see. What is Yira? So he says this type of year that you need to add kedusha to your days, you don't just need a little bit of yira. You need complete yira. So what is this? He says ushleimut yira, complete yira. When fear is perfect, what is that? Hi bechinat shalosh kavim, is when there's 3 lines. So we know Kabbalistically that something can only be perfect when it has a middle, a left, and a right side. We know that in the beginning of creation, when Hashem created the world, He created all the sfirot in one line, and they all broke. So what did Hashem do? He reconfigured them, and they made them middle, left, and right. And then they were able to work together to hold the light. So same thing when it comes to any sphera, whether it's yira or ahava, whether it's love or whether it's fear or whether it's trust, whatever it is, you always need these 3 lines for it to be perfect. So if Nachman is saying for your yira to perfect, you need to have the 3 aspects of yira. So now we're going to learn what they are. Bechinat mor shamayim. The first and the highest level is mor shamayim. What does it mean? Anybody know?
What is this?
Mora Shemaim. Means Yirat Shemaim. Yirat Shemaim. What is Yirat Shemaim? We have fearing Hashem. Okay. When we generally say Yirat Hashem, we mean year in every case. We don't just mean about Hashem. We mean like anything. Anything that's like stopping me from doing something. Yirat Hashem. I mean, yeah, we call it Yirat Hashem. But what is real Yirat Hashem? Yirat Shemaim. The more Yirat Shamayim a person has, the more Yirat Hashem he has. So he says the first line is called Mora Shamayim, which is Yira of Hashem. Second, Mora Bach, Yira of your teacher. Okay? Second level. Mora Av Ve'em. This is the last. Fear of your parents. Now many of us, no, it's not about last. You need all of these are the 3 aspects. If you're lacking in one of these 3 aspects, your year is incomplete. You're not going to be able to add kedusha to your days, and you're not going to be able to get wealthy. Okay? So now we have to learn what is the essence of these 3 aspects of year. It's not as simple as it looks. That I listen to what my dad says, I listen to what my teacher says, and I listen to what Hashem says. It's not that simple. Okay? We're going to learn that they're all connected to money. It has to do with how you deal with your money. So there's a very big connection between how you deal with your own personal money and the amount of year that you have. It's very interesting, okay? So listen to what he says. But on a simple level, that when the hacham, that when the wise person of the generation, the tzaddik of the generation, when he has worthy students and when he has worthy children, then year is complete in the world. What is he referring to? We learned in the very beginning of the Torah. We learned in the very beginning of the Torah about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his students and his children. And what did we say in the beginning of the Torah? You guys remember? He was sitting at the front, his son was on his right, and his student was on his left. Meaning, perfected fear. And because he was the tzaddik of the generation, now he was able to rectify the whole creation and bring the Zohar, which is the deepest secrets, right? What do we say? The deepest secrets can only come through wealth, and that wealth is yira. So when the yira was complete, meaning he had it, his kid had it, and his students had it, boom, he brought the Zohar. And the Zohar says very clearly, it's only in the merit of the Zohar that Mashiach is going to come at the end. Yeah. No, through the Zohar. And the Zohar only came about because of the perfected year. Okay? Yeah, so meaning the year of the teacher, the year of the tzaddik himself. So we're going to see that in reality, these 3 levels, you're only in charge of, let's say, 1 of them, or 2 of them. The person who's the teacher, the chacham, he needs to have tremendous yirat Hashem. He needs to have real yirat Hashem. So that's one aspect. Second aspect. Talmidim. That when the students have yira of their Rav. Right? And we're going to learn what that means in a second. Last level is mora of your father and your mother. Okay? And through these 3 levels of yira, we have complete yira. Through complete yira, We have kedusha to our days. We have wealth. No. Okay. So now we have to learn what each of these is. You ready? I need you to pay attention. It gets a little complicated. Uchinat yira. This kind of yira. Shel kol echad mishalosh. It has three aspects. Tzarich sheyeh kolul mishalosh shalosh. And every one of these aspects needs all three other aspects. Meaning, year Shemayim needs year of your teacher and year of your parents. And the year of your teacher needs year Shemayim and year of your parents. And the year of your parents need year to Shemayim and year of your teacher. So we're going to see what that means in a second. Dayenu Morsha Rav, meaning that the year Shemayim of the teacher, Tzarik Shiyeh Kalu B'chol Atalot Mochin. What makes his year so much greater? What makes his year greater than his students? What makes his year greater than the whole generation? The answer is that his year is a result of mochin. Everybody focus. His year is a result of mochin. What is mochin? Consciousness. Torah. Okay? Why is he the tzaddik of the generation or the sage of the generation? Because he is so connected to the truth. So where does his year come from? His year is rooted in very, very deep, very mastered level of truth. Because he has so mastered the Torah and connected to its truth, he has developed incredible year from that.
That's any Rav?
No, this is the Rav of the generation, the tzaddik of the generation. Meaning this whole thing only works when the teacher himself is the tzaddik of the generation.
What if we don't have any teacher left?
We're learning him.
But practically.
No, practically. Where is his year coming from? So Rav Nachman's year is coming from the fact that he knows the whole Torah by heart. He knows every level of it. He knows how it all connects. He sees how it all applies to life. And as a result of that, he sees very clearly that Hashem runs the world. There's no reality for him at that point besides the Torah.
The teacher doesn't have to be physically alive as long as people.
No, we learned about this before. He doesn't have to be physically alive as long as we have his writings and we're learning them. It serves the same function, okay? Now, where does it come from, this level of year? It comes from contemplating the greatness of Hashem, which you can only do by knowing his Torah, through his intellect, okay? That is, his fear is produced by the intellect. Therefore, it's necessary that he has full fear. How does he get full yira? He needs to have Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at. He needs to have Chabad. Doesn't mean I should lose all my students tomorrow because you guys are going to go learn at the Chabad instead of learning Breslov. Oh, he's got a Chabad on his head. You're full yira. Shh, teach us. Except that you're in St. Lucia, which means you don't have full euro. Just kidding. Nobody got the joke. What are you doing in St. Lucia, my friend? Okay. Not opening up a yeshiva over there, I'm guessing. No, not yet. Okay, was that the show? Yes, okay. So he says like this. Why does the tzaddik of the generation have a more intense level of year than anybody else? Because he has attained perfected da'at. He's like the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation. His year comes from da'at. The year Talmid, and what about the year of the students that we need? It comes about from the teaching he receives from his master. Meaning he needs to learn all levels of Torah from his teacher, and they need to instill him with yira. So if a person is learning from somebody, and his emunah is not growing, so he's never going to have this thing going on. It could be both. Could be both. It's not such a big statement. Alright, so Rav Nachman spoke about this. We already learned about this. It has to be that everybody's involved. We're all working together, okay? So for the student to benefit from this, meaning to have perfect yira, he needs to be learning every level of Torah from his master and following his eitzah. Okay? And he has to have a munah in his eitzah like he has a munah in Hashem. And only by attaining this level of yira of his teacher is he going to be able to perfect his yira. Meaning, like say, for instance, somebody comes up to you. Like I heard somebody came up to me recently, and whatever I was learning, and he said, it's some more Breslov propaganda. Right? Like a lot of people think when they see all these Breslov books coming out and So if my response is, but if my response is more serious, right? And I'm actually offended. Why am I offended? Because it's my Rav. So that's Yira, right? So when your level of respect for your teacher is not just I'm learning Torah of Rabbi Nachman, but it's that like he's like the source of my chiyut. He's the source of my life force. He's giving me everything. So as a result of that, I have tremendous awe of him and respect for him and reverence for him, and all of his students and the people who teach you his Torah. It's part of it is backing him up, but it's just having. It's like if you had tremendous respect for your parents and somebody came over and started making fun of them, how would you respond? Right? Someone came over and started talking trash about your wife. How would you respond? Right? So that level of respect or reverence you have for the people who are close to you. Right? Let's say you have a teacher who saved you, completely saved you from your secular life. Someone goes over and that guy's a nobody. He never learned anything. He doesn't know anything. How would you respond? Yeah, but to you is Mashiach. Exactly. So to have this complete yira, you need to have yira of your teacher and the ones who teach you his teachings. Okay. Lastly, you need yira of your parents. So listen to what he says here. This is very interesting. He says yira of the parents is like an inheritance. Like it says, Bayit v'hon nachalat avot. What are the things that are usually given as inheritance? It is a house and it's wealth. Those are the two main things. This is what the pasuk says in Mishlei. Shlomo Melech says these two things are usually given over. This fear must be applied to all levels of wealth. Meaning, he's saying that yira of your parents is connected to how you treat your money. So we're gonna have to connect it. It's connected to how you use your money. Okay? There's a very famous Gemara. Like a lot of people say, somebody asked me recently, is it considered secular wisdom if I'm spending time learning how to manage my finances? How to protect and manage my finances. So it's interesting because the Gemara actually tells you how to use your finances. The Gemara says very clearly that you use 1/3 in your business, you invest in business, or you invest in stocks, you invest in something that can bring you dividends. 1/3 you put in the ground, meaning you're saving it, right? Or you're putting in something that you know you're not going to lose money on. No, that's the first one. Savings account. No, it can't. So the Gemara says it can be a home because a home never really loses value. Right. So in that case, it's fine. Third is to spend. And the Torah says if you do this, you're good.
I don't know. New York is a different show right now.
This is not a different show. This is Torah from Har Sinai. Whatever you need to spend on, you need to eat. It's spending expenses, whatever it is. You take 1/3 of your money and you invest it in the Tzion Breslov Center. Okay? You take 1/3 of your money and you put it in the ground, meaning you put in your savings account. You take 1/3 of your money and you use it to buy food, to buy drinks, to get your wife what she needs, whatever it is. What? I'm just saying, whatever it is. I was just making an example. You don't have to. What? Maaser and tzedakah. So you're gonna see. It's gonna come up in a second.
But it's part of
I think it's not considered part of your wealth. It's a separate thing. So you have the 10%, and then whatever else you have is this third.
I get a fat check right now. What do I do with it first? Do I give Meister first?
So people who learn this Gemara, who really internalize this, they will take 1/3 and invest it. They're going to take 1/3 and they're going to save it, and they're going to keep 1/3 to use to spend.
No, but do I give Meister first?
What?
I have to give myself first.
You don't have to do anything. This is so. If the Torah is telling you that this is what's going to bring you real wealth, it's not halakha. It's not a halakha. It's not a halakha. But the Gemara is telling you this is what you should do. I give my monster first. I'll take it out of the money. Like let's say, for instance, you guys give me something. I'll take out, like, let's say somebody gives me $10, I'm going to take out $2 and put it on the side.
That's 20%. 20%.
Yeah, you said OG.
Whatever.
Wait. If let's say $100, right? So you take $10 or $20?
Okay, so it doesn't matter how much I give. I'll just tell you what the Torah teaches.
Okay.
The Torah teaches the lowest you can give is 10% of your money.
Okay.
The highest you can give is 20% of your money.
Okay.
That's it. So the person who's going to give the lowest, but he fulfills the mitzvah, he's going to give $10 of that $100. The person who wants to go to the furthest with the tzedakah and does it in the best way possible, he's going to give $20.
Does the chassid give 20?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. No, he's not chayiv.
Not
Not alt. Don't alt me. We need to move forward in the Torah, and not waltz with me. Okay. What?
No.
Very simple. You guys need to go back to public school to get the math right. Okay. 10%, 20%. There we go. Very simple. Okay. So now listen to what we say. Very interesting. Rav Nachman says, how many times does the word wealth come up in the Torah? Penny, you need to not be like the little kid in the back of the class is always getting involved. It's mentioned 3 times, Rav Nachman says. Throughout the entire Torah, it's only mentioned 3 times. Why? Because Rav Nachman is going to teach that this is the 3 expressions of wealth in your life. There's 3 types of wealth in your life and how to use it. Okay? And it's connected actually to that Gemara. We're going to see it's exactly corresponding to 1/3 in business, 1/3 in the ground, and 1/3 for spending. Okay? So let's see how that is. What's the first time it said? With Abraham. He says, V'lo tamani ha'asharti et Avram. You're not going to say you made Avram rich. Right? Because in Sodom they had a lot of money there. And Abraham was promised by Hashem, I'm going to make you rich. So when he helped Sodom out, he didn't want them to give him money for that and say, no, I'm not getting it from Hashem who already promised me. I'm going to take it from you. So he said, you're not going to give me my money. So this is the first time that wealth is mentioned. Okay? The Etzel, next time is Rachel Baleah. That when Yaakov was worked for them for 20 years and he's leaving Lavan's house, Hashem says, Yaakov, it's time to leave. He goes and he tells Rachel and Leah, it's time to go. And what was their response to him? They said, Ki chol ha'osher asher hitzil Elokim. That Lavan took all of our money, but it really belongs to us and to our children. You do what you need to do, meaning we're with you, or we're going to go out with you. Okay? You're going to see. So this is the second time it's mentioned. What's the third and last time it's mentioned? Shekel. The Jewish people are not allowed to count Jews. You're not allowed to count there's 10 Jews here. You have to do shekel, right? So everybody gave a half a shekel. And what's it there? Hashir lo yabeh. If you have a lot of money, don't give more than a half a shekel. And if you're very poor, don't give less than a half a shekel. You can only give half a shekel. Okay? So now we're going to see these 3 mentions of wealth are connected to the 3 ways that the Gemara says you should use your money. And we're going to see that this is connected to the 3 aspects of year that makes perfect year. What's the third that it's invested in business? This is the wealth that was mentioned in Sodom. Why? Because it says about Sodom, Hanishkachim minei ragel, that they are forgotten by the wayfarer. So we know, according to many midrashim, Sodom, because there was so much wealth there, they had very bizarre, peculiar practices that they put into practice, such as they didn't want business going on in the city of Sodom. Meaning they didn't want that money should trickle and matriculate down to other people, and there should be a give and take of money. They wanted to be that the people who have money should keep that money, and it should never go to any, and should stay rich. So they didn't allow for business or economy to take off and to flourish in that area.
How would they have money?
They just had their money and they kept it.
I mean, they wouldn't share with other nations, or
They didn't want that there should be, part of economy is you lose money, you gain money, but then someone else is gaining the money. So it's good for the whole nation because everybody eventually hopefully makes money, right? But in Sodom, if you gave somebody money and they didn't have money, they used to burn you alive.
So business occurred just between
The richer people, yes. The wealthy got wealthier, and the ones who didn't never had it, and if you gave them, they killed you.
sounds like nobody in Sodom is broke. If you lived in Sodom, must be rich.
No, or you're those poor people and you died poor.
So basically, then eventually the poor die.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Yeah, but then
everybody else that's left is rich.
until Stone got wiped out by Hashem because he didn't like this. Okay, so I'm saying, yeah, eventually that is what would have happened. But we didn't get there because they all got wiped out. The whole reason that Hashem wiped them out was not even for the sodomy, which is where the word comes from. The sexual deviance that they were into, which is very interesting. They were not wiped out because they were into very bizarre sexual practices, which is a very big sin in the Torah. They were actually wiped out because they would not allow poor people to have money. That's the reason why Hashem destroyed the whole city. That was worse for Hashem. Okay? So listen. There was a bracha that Yaakov gave to Zevulun, and Moshe then gave to Zevulun. What was the bracha that Moshe gave to Zevulun? Yes. Samach Zevulun b'tzeitecha. Very famous. That the Jewish businessman, you're going to be happy when you go out in your journeys. So the reason they said they're going to be happy is because they're going to support Yisachar. So therefore, all his money is used for Kedusha. Okay. Therefore, the Torah teaches business activity is not only necessary, it's holy. Okay? Rav Nachman teaches in many places that business activity is a very important part of Jewish life and the fabric of existence. It needs to flourish, it needs to continue. Okay? There is something very deep about business activity. Rav Nachman speaks a lot about it in many different places. We've spoken about it a little bit. There's other places. Okay. Therefore, what happened in Stone? They took away that holiness. There was no business activity. We're going to see what that means for us in a second. Meaning simply, what does that mean? They were stingy with their money. And they did not use it faithfully. So the first aspect of wealth, right, which is that you should invest it, is that you're honest in business. So in order to acquire real yira, you need to be honest with your money. You can never have real yira. Those are not concerned. If you're not completely honest with your money, you're never going to have yira. Okay, in transaction, what you say you're selling, right? You don't lie to people. You're simple. Your business gives you this much money, but you really didn't work for that much money. You tell them, I didn't work that many hours. I worked this many hours. Yeah. Or let's say you tell them they ask you how many hours you worked, and really, in truth, you spent half the time there on Facebook. And even though maybe nobody told you that's not allowed, but you're not getting paid for that, so then you put how much you actually worked. So a person, Rav Nachman says, cannot acquire real yira or amuna if he is not amunadik with his business and with his money. That's the first question they ask you when you get to Shemayim as well. Meaning they're trying to scope you out. You have yira or not. You finished your whole life. You got yira or not. And we know right off the bat, you're honest in business, yes or no? Okay. Second. Just want to get something off your chest? Mazal tov. Good. Okay. What's the third in the ground? This has to do with Rachel and Leah. So now listen to this. There's a few very important points that are going to come out right now. Listen to what he's about to say. And you need to think very hard about what Rav Nachman is about to say, okay? Everybody focused? Now, he says like this. Wealth is really only for women.
What?
Right? This way. No, that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. Wait. Everybody wait. Listen to what he says. In truth, what's the essence of wealth? What's the purpose that you should have wealth? So we learned in the beginning of the Torah, it allows you to have the deepest contemplation of Torah. Meaning for you, your goal is da'at. Your goal is God consciousness. And the wealth allows you to do that. But who's the wealth actually for? For your wife. What's his proof for this? So he says like this. We're saying that real wealth is truth. And false wealth is physical money. However, he says here, please don't show this to your wives. Okay. He says that women, no, it's okay. He says that women have, they all have mochin de katnut.
What is that?
No, that's not what he's saying. It means they have constricted consciousness. I'll give you an example. No, not none. It's constricted.
Limited mindset.
Yes. They most of the fights that happen between men and women is not because differences of personalities and all these things. It's actually because someone's bringing to the conversation mochin the gadlus, an expanded intellect. He sees things in a different way, and the woman is bringing her mochin the katnu, and they're saying, "Why don't you get what I'm saying? If we spend this much money, we're not going to have money to pay our rent." And they're saying, "But I need this. I don't want this. I need this." And then you're saying, "No, you want this. You don't need this. You're not going to die if you don't have it." So what is this? This is mochin the gadlu versus mochin the kadnu, and that there's never going to be harmony there when one is trying to assert its own. So the mochin the gadlu has to see, the mochin the gadlu, the expanded mind has to see. Okay, so listen to what I'm about to tell you. There's a very okay. No, it's good. This is going to bring a lot of peace to your relationship. It's not. It's going to be good for you. You shouldn't be getting frustrated.
Don't people who are bothered by stupidity is everyone but the stupid person. The stupid person doesn't know stupid.
He's not saying they're stupid. No, but I'm explaining to you. He's not saying that they're stupid.
They don't know their limit. They think they're right.
Everybody thinks they're right.
Let's wait a second.
If I try to say they have limited consciousness, they're gonna kill me.
I'll give you an example, okay? Let's
Exactly.
Listen. Let's learn from the Torah, okay? It says that Mordechai raised Esther. He raised her. And yet we know that Mordechai was with Esther. They were together. So why, like they were a couple. So why, yeah. Yeah. Throughout the entire oral Torah, it speaks about the fact that they were really together, okay? So the question, there's many questions that come from this. And first question should be, so why is Mordechai raising Esther? Why is Mordechai raising Esther if they're together? And the answer is because in a sense, the husband raises his wife. Because her mind never necessarily moves beyond that of a child.
Sorry, but isn't that against the Torah?
No.
He was
no. So he was her uncle in the sense that he raised her.
No, but the Bible says he was
His uncle. I understand.
the brother of.
I get it. We're going to deal with it a little bit later. I hear the question. It's a good question. We're going to deal with it a little bit later. It's very clear. No. We're going to get to it, okay? It's just I want to do the point of the Torah and not get sidetracked, okay? The point of the Torah is that Mordechai raised his wife, okay? And every husband needs to raise his wife. What does that mean? It means you need to realize that when you're having conversations with your wife and she's giving you a difficult time about something, you should not be treating her like your peer, like you would talk to your friend, and let me figure this out with you, because that, besides the fact that you know it doesn't work, but you don't know why it doesn't work. The answer is, have you ever tried to level and speak to your daughter or your son and try to explain to him why this isn't going to work for you?
Thanks.
And one guy who's not even married.
Blew up. You don't get married to me?
Listen,
You want to do other way around? You don't have to babysit.
I'm teaching you a very, very deep thing, okay? Yeah, but I'm explaining to you why you're not opening your mouth. Because there's no point. Because it doesn't make sense to. Because she's not going to understand you. You should treat. How would you figure out something with your daughter? That's how you should figure out things with your wife.
If she says something to you, it's not a message from God.
That's also true. That's also true.
So you're getting us confused.
It's not confusing. It's both.
You don't argue with them.
Yeah.
Together, you get into stupid, their constricted consciousness and your expanded consciousness. Like children have a constricted consciousness.
Right. There's nothing wrong with them, and they're not stupid.
No, their consciousness works differently than yours.
Yes, they think differently.
Explain it to them in a way that you'll understand.
Right. You have to explain on their level.
So what do you have to do?
You have to explain it to them in a way that their consciousness.
You have to.
So what you have to say, do it, and that's it.
This is not a separate class.
No.
This is this class.
So I don't understand. So how it works? How do you tell them?
Listen,
Not through commanding. That's
when you have children, Bezrat Hashem, so then you're gonna have to figure out how to raise them. And when you figure out how to raise your daughter, you'll figure out how to deal with your wife.
Okay.
Maybe that's another Chiddush why Hashem says
So what about before then?
Good luck.
What if you have a son? What if you have sons? You have 7 sons.
It's not the point. Wait, just listen to what we're saying. Listen to what we're saying. Why does Hashem do this? Why does Hashem do this? Why does Hashem do this? Hashem is trying to rectify the man. The woman doesn't need rectification. The man needs rectification. How does he do that? He needs you to be empathetic to something that's not like you. Why? Because this is what Hashem does with us.
Show you how He works.
Is that why,
So he's giving you an opportunity to be like him with your wife. That he has to deal with you, you little numbskull, that you don't know anything, and yet you're complaining about X, Y, and Z, and he knows everything, and yet he has empathy for you, and he's with you in your pain, and he listens to you. But you don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. It doesn't make a difference.
This is the closest way to be one with Hashem.
Yes.
Is this why Hashem got upset at Adam when he blamed his wife for...
You've been having nice Hiddushim lately, you know that?
That guy stroking the beard.
Yes, very good. By the way, there is such a thing as stroking of the beard. It does something for your intellect. Yes, it's a very good point. Why was he mad at Adam? He said, you gave me her. The whole beginning of the issue of everything is mochin the kalu versus mochin the gatnut. Okay? So listen to what he says. Only a person who has mochin the katnut is going to run after money. That's why they want money, because they can't. It doesn't make sense to them to think beyond that. Okay, so he says that's why Rachel and Leah says all the money that Hashem gave to Lavan, my father, and took, He's giving to us and to our children. So it looks like they're saying, meaning in this instance right now, we're good with you, Yaakov. We trust you. They're giving it back. Hashem's giving. She's saying, no, for all time, money is for us and for our children. That's what the money's for. Yes. Yes, that whenever you make money, it's not for you. It's for your wife and your kids. That's what wait. This is what Rachel and Leah are saying. That money forever is for the wife and the kids. And then listen to what she says at the end. She says, and whatever Hashem said to you, do. So it looks like what they're saying is, meaning we're with you. We're going to go with you. What they're really saying is, we focus on the money, and you have to focus on whatever Hashem wants you to do. That's your role in the relationship. That's why I tell many people all the time that they come to me and they tell me they have shalom bayit problems and all these things. My wife doesn't want to do these things, and I'm trying so hard to do these things. It's because she is not prepared or supposed to or built to do these things. You are. Your whole purpose in this world is to do what Hashem wants you to do, and to have empathy for your wife, and to be with her, and to give to her, and to support her. And to
nothing that you're receiving.
that's the optimal role.
Kids.
That's your optimal role.
That's the root of
Right. But when you realize what it is to give, that it's to be like God, that is your happiness. That is your happiness. It's hard to do that because we're selfish. Yes, and that comes from ego. It's connected. Because the ego is what's causing the milk in the cut.
There's certain scenarios
Benny,
where a
Benny,
person
Benny.
has to say something. No, for real. I'm serious. For example, can I give you an example? And this is clear cut in all the books. Let's say, it should never happen, but if a woman goes into a room alone with a man, you say something, right?
Yeah.
According to this, you can't mention anything.
That's not what we're saying. We never said that here. We're talking about money. Okay, but this is a separate thing. We're talking about money and where it's supposed to go. Rav Nachman is saying something which is epic, okay? You know what money is for? It's for women and kids. What about me? Do what Hashem wants you to do. That's your job. But I make the money. Yeah, but you're making it for your wife and your kids. And if you spend it for anything other than what Hashem wants you for, then you're playing the role of the woman.
Why do men have a greater drive for money?
They don't.
Women have a great drive to spend it.
Have a great drive to spend it.
Yeah, so you have a greater drive to make it. They have a greater drive to spend it. But your drive to make it comes from your desire to be like Hashem, which is to create. But it's misguided because you grew up in secular society. Desire to receive. Yes.
I'm confused. Who's working in the relationship?
You're working and they're spending. Just like Hashem works for you and you use whatever He gives you. You're the woman in the relationship with Hashem, and your wife is the relationship with you. Okay? This is what we're
Can it be
saying.
that if you teach a girl at the
Benny, listen to me. Benny, listen to me. Do not resist. Okay? The Torah. No, I'm just saying the Torah is teaching you something. I'm telling you, when you hop what I'm telling you right now, you are going to have shalom bayit immediately. You are going to be so happy in your relationship. You're going to have peace in your home. This is the key to everything. I'm telling you right now. When you realize your role in the relationship is just to get close to Hashem. And their role is to use what you give her. She is supposed to receive and to use it. That's her role. Then you will not be bothered. Then you will see the beauty in her, and you will see the good in her, and you will see what she offers to you. Why? Because she's perfecting you. She's rectifying you. We grow up as kids, and we're taught to be like women. And all of a sudden, we get into a relationship, and we have to be like a man, and it's very hard. And we want them to be like men for us, and to give to us. And then we say, why is this girl good for nothing? Why is she not? She's not. She's perfect for you. But you're resisting because you're acting like a woman according to the Torah. But as soon as you become a man, which means to give, and your focus is only on giving, you're going to be very happy. Very, very happy. But as long as you're desiring to receive, you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to be miserable, and you're going to be feeling unreciprocated all of the time. But you know who's wrong? You. You're actually hurting her. Because she's not made for that. And you're expecting it from her, and she doesn't understand why you're not understanding. And she's not capable of it, and you are. So whose fault is it? It's ours. Stop going into random stuff. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Okay, so you also have to teach your kids. Not to criticize and not to comment, but he's not speaking about whatever you're speaking about. If she's alone with a man, so yeah, you're obligated to tell her this is the halacha. But how do you say it? Like you would tell a kid. You don't want to hurt them. You want to have them involved. You want to include them. Maybe let's learn halacha on Shabbat. And then instead of me telling her right now, and she knows that, yeah, it's coming from you. It's not coming from you. You'll notice many times the wife says she can't hear anything you're saying, but she heard it randomly from someone else. Like, oh, I heard this thing. I told you that already. Yeah, because she can't hear it from you. It's just like kids with their friends. They hear something from their friends, they're impacted immediately. They hear it from their parents, they don't want to hear anything. Same exact thing. Yes. Women. Okay, Hazak Baruch, we have a lot more to say.